Alright guys, well I thought we would take a closer look at the work I did on the Ibanez 2350, aka the Ibanez Les Paul. Well, I don't think Gibson's too happy with us calling it that, but that is what pretty much everyone called them. This is the 1977 that I just reconditioned, refurbished, whatever you want to call it. So let's go over one by one what I did with this. If you remember, a lot of the electronics were really oxidized pretty badly. The frets were really rusted. The bridge was ridiculously rusted, along with the tailpiece. So I knew I couldn't rescue that. So the bridge and the tailpiece are Godo, and those were a direct drop. Those went right in. So there wasn't a lot of work, that had to be done with that. The next thing I did was I put the pickups in, and I had to fix the potentiometers that were sort of frozen up. So I used this, which is the electronics cleaner, but it also has the lubricating oil, and that really opened it up. So I had to, you basically cover it with sort of like a rag in the back. You take the knob off, and then you really give it a good soaking, and then just sit there and go like this for 5 or 10 minutes. It's really loose now because I've really worked it. In fact, this is probably could use a little bit more, because this one freed up pretty quickly, whereas this one you can really feel the difference in the lubrication because it makes it so much easier. Really use a speed knob now. The super distortions replaced these pickups right here. As you can see, the casing's pretty badly oxidized. As you can see in here, right there. So I will probably get these covers off and try and rescue these pickups. They're kind of cool pickups, the old Super 70s. And the undersides look great. It's just the top that looks bad. So that's the soldering iron I used. My Hacko. I don't know if they make this exact one any longer, but this is the one I used. 25 watt. To be honest, for some of the bigger stuff, you wish you had a little bit more power, but you could even use a 15 watt and it will work. Using such little solder doesn't take much to melt it, except when you're working on the back of the pots. And you wish you might have had a 40 watt. So, got the pickups in, got this going, and then the next thing I had to do was the jack, which you can see right there. That's a brand new Switchcraft jack and a brand new plate. The plate was really oxidized, and the jack, it was oxidized, and I was able to bring it back, but it was just too far gone. It's like, why not put a decent jack in it? All right, next up was the frets. So once I had the electronics in, and I had pulled off the old hardware, and I bought this hardware, and this was in. The next thing I wanted to do was, actually before I even started the frets, I wanted to do the jack here. So what I wound up doing was buying a new switch But the switch I bought was pretty crappy. I should have just bought a Switchcraft, but the Switchcraft Gold Switch was $22, and I was just too cheap. I just couldn't bring myself to spend it. So I said, let me buy this like $8 Switch, and at the very least I'll steal this ring off of it, and that's exactly what I did. The Switch was garbage, and you know, it was just easier. Let me see if I can get a little closer to this. There we go. So that's a new ring, and the Switch itself was fine. When I opened it up, it's super clean inside, so not a problem there. The buttons were pretty badly oxidized. I was able to you know, get that cleaned up with a wire brush. That was the best way to clean that up. Just lightly hit it with a wire brush. If I hit it with like polish too much, or putting on the polishing wheel, it just takes the gold right off. So I have this little, you can see it over there, right here. I have a little mini polishing wheel right there. You know, a little mini grinder and polishing wheel. Let me see if I can, yeah, bring that up just a hair. You see that? And you know, that was, I mean, it works, it shines it up, but it also takes the gold right off of it. And even just hand rubbing was taking the gold off of it, so it didn't seem to work. So the other one was the tuners. You can see the ones closest to me, I cleaned up, and the gold is not as prominent. The ones on the other side, the ones on the treble side, I very lightly cleaned by hand, and huge difference. I think, you know, I think it looks, we could even just darken this up a hair, and I think right there you can really see the, you know, the difference between the two. So the last thing I did, you know, to finish it up, you know, was the frets. I think that'll give you a good shot of the frets right there. They came out pretty good. The first thing you have to do is you have to get the neck flat. It might look a little bowed here, but that's just the lens distortion. So the first thing I do is you put this on, and you get it nice and flat. You get the board flat, the fretboard flat. So you know when you're sanding them to level them, you know, you're actually getting level, and you're not you know, you're not if it's bowed or if it's humped, it'll be very uneven. And that'd be the exact opposite of what you want. So then I use this. There's a rough side. You can use whatever sandpaper you want, but I use this rougher sandpaper. I forget the grit, and then I polish it off with this finer grit on this side, and that is super flat. Those are ground within like a, you know, 10,000th of an inch. And then the last thing I do is I use I got this off of eBay, and let me grab this other one, and we'll take a closer look at the files I used to do these frets. Just a sec. Okay, so to crown the frets, I used this file right here. I don't know if I can get that to focus on that. Maybe right there, maybe not. As you can see, even though it's a tri-corner, you know, a triangle file, they grind the edges here, so that when you're working, you don't you know, tear up the fingerboard. If you used a regular triangular saw, you would just tear the fingerboard right up. So you need these edges ground down. And you know, a lot of luthiers have been doing them, you know, themselves for years. But of course, sooner or later, someone was going to come up with a whole set. So you can buy them on StewMac. I think Crimson sells a set. I bought this one off of eBay for $20, including shipping. It's a walnut handle, and it's super sharp. And I gotta say, it did a really, really good job. You can still see some bits of metal still left in it from when I did it. I gotta wipe that out. And then, lastly, to do the ends, I would use this, which is a Fret Guru end file, and you just use this to work the ends, you know, a little rounder. Get rid of the tangs, and then at the very end, I would use these, which is a set of polishing pads. This is a fresh set. Goes between 1500 and 12,000 grit. That's not exactly accurate. That's not really 1500 like sandpaper. That's probably more like, you know, 150 is sandpaper. So, you know, I think these are off a little bit, but they're not exactly like this. There's no way that's like 1500. This one here, it feels a lot rougher. So anyway, I use that to polish them up. By the time you get to 12,000, they're in the zone. Oh, I forgot. I always forget this. There was one more little intermediary step. Where did I put it? It's around here somewhere. No, nobody. Is it up here? I don't even know where it went. But I can see the belts for it over here. I have a little. There's the belts. Here it is. It's one of the little finger files, and you can see the areas where I was working it through, right? Because you work a little area, and then you just move the belt, then you're in a new area, and you work. This has a concave little indentation up the front there that you know we probably can't make out here, but it does have that right up in there. So you use that before you use these. This is like the last sort of shaping step where you're still trying to get a little bit of roundness out of it, and this is just pure polishing. This is just making it shine, and that's that. And that was the frets, and I was pretty happy with the way they came out. The last thing I had to do was just cut the nut. So the nut came with little starter grooves, you know, just to show you, you know, a recommended place. I mean, once they put those in there, I guess you kind of stuck using it. But that was fine. They lined up just fine. And I used, I'm trying to find the file here, but I used a small needle file. It was that's not it, like a half round. All right, hold on, let me find this file. I'll be right back. All right, well, there's the file. As you can see, it's pretty thin. It's also slightly rounded on this side, but completely flat on that side, so you can get a flat wall. And I just very gently over here, you know, went in and filed them ever so slightly. These, you know, these, well, that magnet is strong. These, you know, thin ones needed almost no filing at all. Very, very little filing. And they very quickly got to the shape I needed. And where is it? Yeah, right here. And then I used this stuff right here, if I can Just grab a couple of it. I use this, which is Mitchell cord. It's an abrasive cord. You know what I found? I found that the large cord worked great, and it really rounded out the large, ones. Like the first three, no problem at all. But the thin cord for the high strings, it just broke apart. It really couldn't hold its abrasive materials on there. Everything that was abrasive seemed to just sort of crumble and fall off. So 50-50 split on the Mitchell cord. I had used a different cord in the past, which I don't even remember the brand, a long time ago. But I know about abrasive cord, and I said, I'll give this a try, and I'd say it's hit or miss. The thick stuff was great, but the thin stuff not so much. But in the end, it's been working out great. No broken strings, and it's all been working out. So there you have it. There is. Let's see if I can get this going here. There is the Ibanez. Get too tangled up here. And that's everything that was done to it. The project took a few weeks, and it took a little bit of money, if I think about it. The pickups were probably $150, I think, was my final. And the bridge and the tailpiece were around $50 by the time it was shipped. I checked again. I think it was $42 before tax and shipping. So, little bit, but not too bad. The jack there was like $8, and the switch was like $8. And all I used was the ring, and then the Switchcraft jack was like $9 or $10, and the plate was like another $7 or $8. But for the tools, I want to say I may have got this. I forget if I got this off of Amazon or if I got it off of eBay. I definitely got this off of eBay. Definitely got this off of Amazon. This came from StewMac. These I already had. I've had these a long time. These are relatively new. I've had this one a little while now. This came from Amazon. And that's the old Fret Guru. And I really love that file. That's a great file, Fret Guru. And this one I got off of eBay. And I really think this is a great file as well. So I'll, I'll try and find links for everything, and leave links down below if you're, because everyone will say, do you have a link for this or that? As many links as I can find, I'll put down there. And there you have it. All right, guys. Well, as always, thanks for stopping by. And rock on.